All right, so I can't get very far around town without hearing this guy, and that's been the case for many years. And he put out an EP called Still under the name Juh-Mill, Juh-Mill. It has 4 tracks and it has some of his best friends playing on it. Of course, he also plays with a bunch of other acts too. And I want to hear about the kind of summer that he's been having and mark the release of this fun little EP. So please welcome Yamil Chain-Haddad to the show.
Wahoo!
How are you feeling, man?
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling stoked to be here, be part of it. And yeah, no, this is not a thing I thought. I don't think people were interested in this. Yeah. But I'm stoked. How are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, it's an interesting juncture in the summer. I hope the smoke clears soon. But over June and July, man, there's been some fun times, and I've seen you around in several different places. So it sounds like you've been having a pretty good summer from the view of it that I had.
Yeah. It's I've been feeling very, very blessed to be able to do music and hang and get to play people's music. It's been really awesome.
I want to start about a month ago now, where I popped into Guilt for most of a set, where you went on to play a bunch of sets. This is ground up on Thursday nights at Guilt, something that you've done before, but you were the leader here. Juh-Mill and Friends gets billed as, and I heard 4 or 5 or 6 songs that basically represented the most random set list that I've ever heard. Let me tell you about some of these songs. So you started out with Feel Like Making Love, and then you played Something by George Harrison. You did the Shrek 2 song by Counting Crows, Accidentally in Love. You're singing.
Yes.
And then you did Strange Meeting by Bill Frisell.
Yeah.
I don't know how you come up with a set list like this, but hey, that's, I guess on one hand, that's Guilt & Co. On the other hand, that's you and your friends. You can do anything.
Yeah. Honestly, it's just like a huge amalgamation of like, I think all the music that I've been into. And I've been lucky that I've been able to play there on a night where I feel like I have some kind of creative flow, where I'm not worried too much about like it being like a Friday night where we need to make people dance, or other nights. Like, and I'm also not trying to promote myself too much either. Like, I'm just trying to have fun. So like Strange Meeting is a tune that I did back in university, and I love that tune. I love how it can also kind of have a groove to it, but so you can kind of dance to it almost, but I can still get my creative mind flowing. Same with Feel Like Making Love, still groovy. So everything has some kind of pocket to it for me. And I think that's kind of been the most important thing, is like you can go from Feel Like Making Love to and Something by George Harrison also kind of has a cool backbeat. I also just love that tune. And I was like, I don't care. I'm just going to play tunes that I like, and that's what's going to happen.
Let's go through who was in your band on that particular night, and this will quickly lead us to a larger but tight-knit circle of people who you play with often, who you have for many years. So that night, who was your band?
That night was Francis Henson on guitar, probably one of my favorite guitar players in town. And then Alex Dobson on bass, also one of my favorite bass players in town. And then Trent Otter, who is a great friend and probably one of my favorite drummers in town. So yeah, it's every time we get together, I kind of sit there and go, man, I can't believe these are my friends, and like they push me to be better, and hopefully they enjoy the music and enjoy the hang. So yeah.
So then if you add 2 more people to two of those people, right? So you got Francis and Trent, they played on the EP. Then you add
Yes.
in two other people who you've made a lot of music with in the last 5+ years, Ben Millman and Alvin Brendan. And then you get the
Yes.
band for the majority of still the EP.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. Who yeah, Ben and Alvin, also absolutely phenomenal people who push me way more than I think I would have ever pushed myself. Melodically, creatively, and yeah, just like hearing them nerd out so much about stuff. And yeah, luckily I've been able to play with Ben, Alvin, and Trent quite a bit. We a few years ago we formed a band called Bungalow, which was like a fun project of let's get together and kind of see what happens. And yeah, that's been a really, really fun time hanging with them. And luckily people have been enjoyed hearing us play together, so they'll hire us as well, sometimes as the four of us or in different variations. So
Bungalow,
yeah.
instrumental, funky band. You weren't singing, I don't recall, in Bungalow, or at least maybe not all the time.
No, I didn't start singing until I started playing these Juh-Mill shows. Yeah. I think I did years ago, now that I remember. Oh, how long ago was that? It could have been over 5 years ago. I did try to have some kind of format similar to this. I remember played at Tangent, which is now Apollo's, I believe. And I did one show there. It was 3 sets, similar-ish kind of vibe set of like mix of these like jazz tunes, but also these pop tunes. And I did sing there, but I think that was the last time. I haven't really yeah, I've been very self-conscious of my singing voice and my singing ability, and yeah.
What was the time? Was there a specific time where you made the decision to flip the switch, or what launched you into being able to step out there and start doing this on the regular?
I've been playing a lot of bass over the last like majority of these 5 years, and having done a degree in jazz guitar, I felt like I missed playing and I missed playing those gigs, and I just decided I have to play. So I kind of just forced myself in, and on top of that, I like singing on my own. And yeah, I found that luckily I had that show at Guilt once and was like, you know what, I'm going to try singing. Let's try this again. And been working on that, figuring out ways how to help my voice with the guitar. And yeah, it was kind of just, I just wanted to do it. And yeah, it took quite a few years though. I had this thought back in like 2023 of wanting to do this. And so it took a few years for me to finally push myself out of there.
Yeah, that's it takes the amount of time it takes, but this theme is a interesting one that I'm thinking about as well, and it's really cool to see how it's come to fruition for you over those years since you started thinking about it.
Yeah. It's been a wild ride for sure.
Now there's a few other people in addition to Francis, Ben, Alvin, Trent, who contributed to the EP, who I don't know as much about. Who are those other people who were involved in the production of the EP?
Yeah, there was my friend Matt Storm and this other artist, Baby Chili is his artist name. They both have, along with Trent, share this space, like this kind of recording studio jam space, where we would kind of go and hang out, and there's a lot of music kind of flowing in and out of there. And so I remember showing Chili and Matt these tunes and just had them encouraging me of like, hey, like you should, like, whoa, like these are some neat tunes. We tracked a couple demos, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna produce this. I went in through Logic, tried doing all the stuff, and just kind of sat here going, this is not what I wanted. This sucks. Yuck. This is like a few years ago. And then I met this producer named Barry, who has worked with Chili before, worked on Baby Chili's album, and started hanging out with us a lot more. And so I asked him if he would be down to help produce these tracks, and he was down. And yeah, working with him was absolutely phenomenal. Yeah.
I need a little bit of insight there because I'm so ignorant in terms of how live off the floor my limited playing career has been. What did it really look like when you went to Barry and was like, I need help producing this? Like, in practically speaking, like, what did you show up with, and what did he contribute? Like, I don't know very much about what that actually looked like, to be honest.
Oh, totally. Yeah. What was it? Well, he would kind of just hang out, and some of the demos were on like the studio computer. And I remember Matt and Chili would just kind of show him like, hey, here's this thing that like Juh-Mill was working on. Barry was like, whoa, that's really cool. So I think he already had an idea of what I was thinking of, at least for one of the tracks, which was still the last track. Yeah, I had just asked him like, hey, are you interested? Like, this is kind of my vibe is, I was really inspired by mk.gee and Dijon. They have a couple records that sonically really pushed me creatively. And he was also kind of in that same boat. And yeah, I showed him a couple of the demos of the tunes that I wanted to do. He was down to do it. And there was one day last year where me, Francis, Alvin, Trent, Alvin, and Trent. Yeah, we got into the studio and we tracked the first 3 tunes. So we did Stay With Me, Leave Before You Know, and Rain Inside. Those 3 were done off the floor. So we got the bed tracks for that. And Barry was in the room there. And so we recorded everything. And then I was like, okay, Barry, like, whatever you have right now, like, we can pick apart things. It's like, cool. And then he was able to produce it in a way where he was mixing a lot of, like, how he was mixing it informed a lot of like the sound of the song. So I told him that I was really inspired by Phil Collins' album No Jacket Required. So by the tunes like Susudio, and then on top of that, I also had mk.gee in mind. And also my background is I love Prince and I love all those like 70s artists, which you can kind of hear a little bit of that in some of these tunes. A lot of these like 70s and 80s influences. And he was so down. So he was like, yeah, great. Let's just work on that. Yeah, he kind of just took it and ran with those ideas, showed me some of the mixes that he had. And then from there we were like, oh, like what if we did this crazy panning? Or I told him, like, for example, at the end of Still, I really wanted it to just break apart, and how can we do that sonically? So I was like, I really want to have like a tape machine sample that kind of takes everything and it goes in and out and reversing and everything. And so he was really doing a lot of that stuff, a lot of that mixing and making like I was able to give him all the colors and he was able to paint the picture with all that stuff.
That's great. Okay, yeah, I can get a feel for that now. And it also illuminates like the difference between the 4th track and the other 3, right? Because there's those band tracks, those first 3, and then the 4th one. And there's even variety within those 3 tracks, like Leave Before You Know, that's kind of more like the indie rock track, and then there's some slower, more groove based ones, and then still is this kind of creation that is separate from those band tracks that's also on there.
Yeah, and that one too was tracked by, that was just Trent and me. We were in that studio like a year or two before this day for the other three. I think about a year before. And yeah, so that sat in the computer for like a year before I sent it to Barry and was like, hey, here's like an idea. I had a rough idea of how that outro was going to be. Like I did like a lot of tape delay and a lot of reversing in and out, but he really like took that idea and just like pushed it way farther.
Yeah, I sense that one of these spaces that you're talking about is the space that I've been to only a couple times, the Watchtower, but then there's also an actual out and out studio. So this, when you talk about the studio and you talk about another space, I think one of these spaces is the Watchtower space, but then there's another studio where you probably went to track with the band, right?
No, actually it was all done at the Watchtower.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. A couple times there is another studio that Matt Storm works out of. But these tunes were all done in the Watchtower. So there's a lot of bleed, a lot of drums in the bass mic, in the guitar mic, a lot of guitar in the drum mics. But that is something that I consciously did want. I knew that it was going to be tough to mix. And we did do like extra layering on top. Like I did go back in a couple times and add more guitar, or like Ben came in after all that and he layered all the keys and synth stuff on top of everything. But those bed tracks were all done at the Watchtower. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to keep painting in some more colors onto this like Watchtower scene then, because the first thing that I think of is, you know, we got Francis in here, we've got Trent in here, Frankie and the Juice Box. So, you know, you did some photography actually, now that I'm thinking about it, for the Frankie and the Juice Box around their album rollout, but they recorded a couple of the tracks of that album at the Watchtower, and separately they went to a separate studio, which may have actually been the very same one that you were just referencing with Matt Storm, not entirely sure. But this is another group where through Trent, it's connected to that space. I went to the like a video shoot show that they put on for like just 15 people or whatever at the Watchtower. And so this is, and then you've got the rest of that, the other half of that band. You've got Madeline Elkins, Sydney Tuff. You know, this scene around the Watchtower, it also includes like Dacey, who you've also played with, and you like played Philip's Backyard with Dacey in the band recently as well. So there's this Watchtower scene that you're a big part of.
Yeah, and again, just so grateful to be at the right place at the right time with the right people and the right creative people, right? I think that's a huge thing, is like Matt and Chili are both such creative people and wanted to create a space where people can go and create, right? Like that's the biggest thing. And luckily from there, with Trent and I both also being session players, have been able to bring people into that space. And I think that was the huge thing, like with Frankie and the Juice Box, was Trent being like, hey, like instead of this studio, like what if we tried doing a couple tracks here? That's my assumption of how that conversation went, or was probably surprised at how good the sound was at that live taping. Every time they would show us, Trent would always be like, it sounds good here. And we're like, yeah, dude, it's a pretty cool spot. With Dacey in there, and then I think Dacey has recorded some stuff. There's another artist named Asaya who I think recorded a track in there. Who else? I think Trent may have even brought in like I think Teresa Chang did a track there too. I think so. Yeah, so we've had like a jazz band, we've had indie rock, we've had uh, R&B all in there, and yeah, it's kind of just been this huge thing of like as they've been meeting people, because I'm not too much a part of like the whole construction of it. I am like a secondary person. Um, but yeah, that's been such a cool thing to be a part of and see it grow and see the creative flow through it. It's been really, really cool.
I feel like I saw the thing that you mentioned about how they were surprised about the sound of the space, because I remember I was kind of lingering around after that video shoot
Mm.
mini show, and I saw that Trent and Francis were getting on the computer and playing it back, and they were like, "Wow, this sounds maybe a lot better than we expected." Is what
Yeah.
they were like. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And honestly, for that kind of music too, it totally works. I think that's the other thing is if you have a very clear idea of how you want it to sound, it can do that sound very, very well. So, for example, like with Leave Before You Know, I knew that it was going to sound good because that's the style of the tune. It was going to fit kind of garage rocky, indie rocky. So you're going to have that bleed in there. Um, yeah, and then that other studio that they went to, I think pretty sure it's called Electric Maple Tree, which is out in Mission. It's run by this guy named Rory, who is also just an absolute amazing person. That space, we've recorded a lot with Matt Storm. I know my other friend Ivan Hartle's recorded a lot of stuff there. And there's a lot of bands that have gone through that. A lot that I don't know of, but I've gone and recorded. And that space is also just amazing. It's like a huge warehouse kind of deal. So you get this nice natural reverb and a lot of analog gear. So like a nice analog mixing board. Yeah, yeah.
I have kind of this abstract question, but also one that kind of gets into the nuts and bolts that I'm interested to try. It's maybe kind of similar to when I got you to explain the production process with Barry, but like let's say, I wanted to do like a singer-songwriter project for the first time on my own time, or like one of our friends wanted to do it and they weren't, maybe they've been playing around for a long time with our people and they're comfortable with that, and like they've played whatever different kinds of music and they know how to put together like a song or an arrangement. But you said, oh, if you go into space like the Watchtower, like you can get awesome results. This is to paraphrase, you were like, well, if as long as you have a clear idea of the sound you want, like the space is not going to limit you, like you're going to be able to do it and it's going to be cool. But I guess what somebody like me would have to figure out, and I'm curious to ask you this, wherever you want to take this, but like based on your feel of it and work you've done, what is the work that you have to do, or that somebody like me would have to do? What's the work or the steps that we would have to do to get to a clear idea of the sound that you want? Like, how do you do that all important step? What are the things you have to do to realize your taste or whatever, it to check that box and achieve that? Like when you went in there to have that thing, whatever it is you're referencing of what you have to have when you go in there, how do we get it?
I'm not sure there is one answer. I think it's the best thing is a lot of trial and error, a lot of a lot of trial and error with your inspirations, and I think that's probably the best thing. Like a lot of these tunes, like Rain Inside, for example, was a tune that I wrote it with the inspiration of kind of like Untitled D'Angelo-y. There's another artist named Charisse from the UK who had put out a song, an album. There's a song there I can't remember right now. I remember listening to that and going like, oh, this is a really cool vibe. But also recognizing that myself is in that I'm not D'Angelo. So I know that I can't sing like him. I know that my voice isn't as strong. And there's all these things which aren't putting myself down. It's more like accepting what is my sound, what is my voice, which does come from a lot of trial and error of like listening back of like Accidentally in Love, for example, me performing that is like, I'm not huge on performing it exactly like the record because that doesn't sound like me. I like the song, but I love the 70s and 80s kind of groovy stuff that kind of sits back a bit. And so even covering tunes and finding out how to cover songs, I found has helped me find my sound. So then from there, when I'm writing my tunes, I'm starting to kind of get a better idea of how the songs are going to sound because I've started to discover that by doing covers. But again, with Rain Inside, I had done maybe 7 to 10 different demos, different tempos, different keys, different variations of everything, and coming to a place where like nothing is really fitting. And again, that's where Barry came in, which was we had kind of workshopped that tune while we were recording it, like, oh, here's an idea. Alvin suggested that I use like what was a pre-chorus as like a little intro melody thing. And so that was another thing, is working with these other artists was like, hey, I have this idea. I'm stuck on it. Can you help me? And also trusting them. Like I trust Alvin and Trent and Francis that they have great ears. They have great musicality. And even though I'd written this tune years before that, this was a moment where I brought it to them and I was like, hey, I'm struggling a bit. And even after we recorded it, I was with Barry and I'm like, this doesn't seem like it's it. I knew something was there. And then from there, luckily I was able to have done some more listening to some other tunes and found some inspiration there of like, oh, what if we took it in this direction? So again, was listening to Dijon and going like, oh, the bed is kind of similar. And I see kind of what he's doing here. What if we use that as inspiration? And so from there, I was able to talk with Barry and we figured out a way that it had a new life. But again, it was so much trial and error, so much of like, because even before I was doing these covers, I was singing a lot of like Michael Jackson is another huge inspiration. But I don't feel comfortable covering Michael Jackson because again, I'm not him. I'm not as strong a singer. I have all these different experiences. And so if I was to do it, I would figure out a way where it's like, oh, this feels more natural to me. Which is again, like finding your voice, I find, which then from there helps have a clearer idea of how you want your songs to sound or, yeah, I don't know if that's helpful at all.
Yeah, I think it's a great answer. There's a few different things that were themes in there. One of them is like you find limitations, like you said, you don't use them to talk yourself down, but you use them to help you find a path, right? They can guide you somewhere. And then, embracing when you feel like you hit a roadblock and letting that guide you somewhere too. Like if you're struggling with something, then that can be what takes you to people who will help you out or what takes you to the next thing. So it's like embracing limits and like embracing roadblocks too. And then also like just the layer of listening to stuff for fun that you can't really fake by like trying to do it intentionally, but you just kind of have to let it come from whatever you're listening to for fun. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, which is the sharing music is, for some people, I think maybe it's a lot easier, but for me, a lot of these songs are very personal. And so sharing them really felt like, I mean, even recording them and like putting them out was a real mental block, because I'm like, these are songs that I wrote in a period of time which had these feelings and emotions to them. And so then I remember when we were trying to record it, Trent was like, "Hey, just play us the song." And I'd play like a verse of it and be all shy and nervous and like almost embarrassed. And I'd be like, "Yeah, so it's that kind of vibe." And and
Yeah.
so from there, he's like, just keep playing. And I'm like kind of singing the tune, but also like scared, because I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is all very personal. But having taken that step, and also they're people that I trust, and like I love them so much, and I know that we have mutual feelings, and it's just, there was so much love that's going on in that room, and trust, that it felt like, okay, I know that this is a safe space, and I can trust them with this. And so that's also very, very difficult, is like, if if you're only ever writing by yourself, I don't know how you get to that point of like sharing that stuff. Like, because for me, that's terrifying. But maybe for others, that's a lot easier. And that, yeah, like you said, like that can also help. Because then you bring it to them, and then they have their ideas, and then it becomes this whole collaborating thing. And um, yeah.
Let's go to some of the other people who you've been playing with, because there are many, and maybe the one that also matches some of these themes you have a view towards is Matt Storm, because he put out album
Mhm.
System Breaks. You played release show with him. It was at the
Mhm.
end of May now, so it was a little bit ago. But you played release show with Wise Hall. Been playing on Matt's music as well. He is a big part of this Watchtower scene that we've been talking about too. So can you talk about playing in Matt's project and his music?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think Matt has been such a huge inspiration on me, in like in so many ways in my life, whether it's like off of music projects, on the music projects. And yeah, I mean, honestly, like I every day I feel so blessed that I get to be kind of in his circle. Um, because he's such a honest person. I think that really comes across in his music. And yeah, he's given me a lot of space to be open and creative and explore different sounds and different ways of approaching the bass, for example. Or even before, I used to play keys for him, and I remember he would tell me, don't don't play so many notes. And already the only notes I was playing were the notes in the chords of the songs. And
Oh,
so even there, he was like, how can we like how can we do something that's not that? And so from there, luckily I have like a pedal board for my guitar playing and bass playing, and I hooked that up and was like, okay, what if we did these crazy sounds? And so from there, it was kind of influencing a lot of my like creativeness of like, how can I take this instrument and maybe make it sound different? And then when he kind of moved away from having me on keys, I started playing bass for him. I was still taking a lot of that role. And so I was able to kind of shift and shape the bass playing a little bit to be uh, a bit more active differently. Um, I think a good example of that is his song Angel Wings, where I play, but I've created this sound where I use a lot, like I use delay with an octaver and almost like a whammy pedal. Like there's a whammy Digitech whammy pedal that like looks like a wah, but when you go up, it changes the octaves. And so I was kind of doing all this extra soundscapey stuff while also playing bass, which felt like such a cool experience of like, whoa, like this is a new way of playing this instrument, and I'm feeling like I'm in this creative move because Matt has created that space, you know. And he's also always trying to push himself and never trying to repeat his old writing habits. So his first album, Major Seventh Medicine, sounds so different to his second record, which sounds so different to the next record, which sounds so different to the next record. And I think that has to do with he also doesn't like his own music. He doesn't like his songs, which is more of like, I think that has to do with having played them so much before they get released. Like I think we've been doing Angel Wings for a few years now. So by the time we actually recorded it and put it out, it had already been like 2 years since we've been playing this. So he's like, I think he was just exhausted of it. But yeah, that's been a huge inspiration of like not settling for something and like trying to push it, which is again how like Rain Inside became what it was like I could have easily have done the first demo and been like, I guess this is the song, okay, sure. But instead I felt like, you know what, I feel like this could be different, let me try all these different ways, which really came from Matt and his determination of trying to push and trying to do something else.
Yeah, it does resonate with so much of what we were just talking about with your EP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So related, very related, at the jazz festival this year, Ivan Hartle, the band for the Ivan Hartle show is Matt, Storm, you, and Trent Otter. So there you go.
Yes. Yeah. 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 And it's also funny because Matt used to play drums for Ivan. Matt used to be a drummer. And then I think one day Matt couldn't make a gig. And so we asked Trent because we're all friends. And Trent did a great job. And then at that point, Ivan, I believe, was working on his newer album, which is when he started being more electric. Because I believe his first EP was all acoustic. And years ago, he was like an acoustic bass kick or bass drum and tambourine kind of, folky, old 20s kind of vibe. So when he started shifting his sound, Matt started to kind of produce his records. And so Matt was already playing on some of them. And I think that's kind of where that ended up leading. Yeah, and then Matt started playing guitar and doing vocals, and yeah, and here we are hanging out. We just played the Harmony Arts Festival last week, and yeah, we're kind of just hanging and playing tunes, and it's great.
One of my other memories of seeing you play at festivals this summer was catching a bit of your set with Midnight Boogaloo at Ocean Artworks.
Yeah.
And just this image of walking into Ocean Artworks and it's packed and you're standing up there, you're playing your P bass or whatever, and you're wearing a Mexico jersey.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. That day will forever be in my heart, the day Mexico lost. But it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, that's also a great project with Alan Ruiz, and he's fronting that. That's been really cool. As somebody that's half Mexican and half Chilean, having a lot of roots in like salsa and cumbia music. It's been really cool to be able to connect to those roots with the music that Alan's been writing and having us play. He's also, I remember he was saying he's also inspired by a lot of the jazz guitarists. I think he was saying that there was a movement in the 70s where Boogaloo, there's a genre called Boogaloo. I could be completely off, but I think it was like that fusion of jazz and cumbia was kind of like doing this mesh. So he was really inspired by that too. And has been doing a great job fronting that this last couple years. And I've been stoked to be part of it. And it's really been really awesome.
I see the band's name a lot on the Flamingo Room gigs. Are you playing on those?
The Flamingo Room ones, no, I haven't been on those. I know that Alan is also with this project. I think he's been using it to kind of similar with me with my Juh-Mill and Friends, where it's like, here's this band, this is the music we're playing, but like, what if we played with just congas, guitar, and bass, or piano, drums, and guitar? And so he's been, or just drums, guitar, bass. So I think you've been able to use the Flamingo Room as a place to try out these different variations, and then I believe from there he's been able to, if we have to do festivals that need like a 5-piece, or like, I believe that Ocean Artworks had quite a few people on stage. I think it was, it was me, Trent Otter on drums, Winston on keys, we had Sangito on congas, Lily on percussion for a few, Alan, and then then we had Gordy, I believe his name is, on saxophone for like the last couple tunes. And I think as it's kind of that same thing of like, oh, like, you want to play, like, can you play this gig? So he's kind of been building up almost like a roster too, which has been really, really awesome.
There's this thing where you can use a band name and you can break it down into different lineups depending on what the gig is. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the band is very clearly, it always has to be these people, but maybe sometimes not, it sounds like.
I think that's very dependent on the music and what the purpose is too. So for Matt and Ivan, or I'll use Matt for example, his music is very, very specific. And he's very specific of how it sounds. Same with Ivan as well. Ivan's very like, I really want this, and I'm very specific with bass lines too. So in a lot of our rehearsals, it's like, hey, I wrote this tune, this is the bass line. And I'm like, great, I'll lock that in. Whereas with something like Midnight Boogaloo, where it's kind of in this jazz inspired world where you can have, you're trying to cultivate like an experience. I think more
it's
so
more
than
jam
like,
based.
Kind of. It is like totally. So when you're doing a gig, you get inspired by these different people that are playing, right? I think a good example right now is Shruti's band Ragaverse, where I think her first album was very specific people. Now I believe they're in the second phase of Ragaverse, where now it's a different group of people, which in my head is like, oh, they're probably inspired by how these people play. So it's probably pulling in all those different inspirations.
Yeah, the second Rogverse lineup, like the first one, it was basically Shruti and the Noah Franch Nolan trio, right? Like Noah and Jody Krosnick and Nick Bracewell. And now, changed rhythm sections. So now you have James Meager and you have Trent.
Yeah. Which, not to say that like one is better than the other. It's so different. And how like playing with Nick Bracewell is probably so different than playing with Trent. Both phenomenal drummers, like absolutely amazing, but have different touches and have different isms that they do, or how they approach hitting can also affect how I play bass or how someone plays guitar, and then vice versa, right? Like that's what I think is so cool about bands like Midnight Boogaloo or those jazz inspired or jam bands almost, is like, whoa, like you're that's what you're playing. That's really awesome. I'm gonna hop on that and kind of go with that.
Somebody else whose name hasn't come up quite yet, but easily could have, is Mikey Jose.
Oh yeah, Mikey. Oh my goodness. What a person. What a person, writing absolutely gut-wrenchingly beautiful music, but at the same time, I think he's coming up on his 6th year of his PhD. So this last 6 years have been an absolute whirlwind. Yeah, but equally as inspiring, and yeah, every time we play, I kind of stand. There's a moment where I'm standing there, and I'm just like, I can't believe that I'm here. Yeah, no, I love Mikey so much, and I believe in his music so much, and I think he's just absolutely phenomenal.
So he's got an album coming out. You play bass in his band?
Mhm. Yeah. I've been blessed with the ability to play in his band quite a bit. I played on his first EP, Hindsight, was where we met, and then has been around him for the rest of the time since now. I think that was 2019 till now. And yeah, that last record we recorded some tunes at oh no, what's that studio? Not Blue Light, not, oh my goodness, I can't remember the studio name. But there was a day we spent in the studio where we recorded about 2 or 3 of the tracks. Yeah, so we did that, and then that one's been produced by Ben as well, Ben Millman. And yeah, we just started a new 30-minute set. So we've been playing a 30-minute set for the last 5 years that has been the same set. And so we finally created a new set for the new album, and really, really stoked on it. It sounds great, and he sounds amazing.
Yeah, looking forward to hearing more about that. One other recent project that you played on that I'll catch here a couple weeks ago, I guess now. I didn't catch this particular show, but I saw this band's show last year, and it was awesome. Melgar.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Amazing band. Run by Luis Melgar. That's also been a huge treat. That we've been doing that for a few years now. I think this is our 3rd year now. And I remember Luis kind of came up with the idea of, I think he wants to really be inspired by, a lot of those 70s bands that are like bigger bands with the horn section and the bigger rhythm section, the 2 singers, and has been really running with that, and that's been really cool. I've been lucky enough to be playing guitar in that, which I think has also reminded me that I can play guitar, and like, oh yeah, that's right, I can do this. So why don't I push myself and play guitar for my Juh-Mill shows? Yeah, that was definitely a good reminder of that ability of like, oh yeah, that's right, I can play guitar on gigs. I can do this. That's right. yeah, I'd spent so much time focusing on bass that I pushed it way to the side, and yeah, that's been really, really cool. That's also um, feeling the same of playing with those great musicians. Francis in that band, Alex Dobson in that band, Trent Otter's in the band, and then amazing John Nicholson on saxophone, who every time I hear him play, I'm trying to steal some licks, always trying to take something from him because so much learning. And then Rory Heslop on trumpet and David Brown on Barry, which is also another group that, in case some of them are unable to make a show, they're able to kind of swap out. And yeah, everybody that's been a part of that band has been just phenomenal, and it's been so cool being a part of that project.
Yeah, one more to draw lines across time here and connect to another event where we were both recently in the same place. I was at this backyard in Burnaby that I had never been to before recently, and you were there to hang out. You weren't playing at this particular thing, but we were both there for something that we congregate to once or twice a year when the Shorties do a show or an event or any kind of thing like that. And they recently recorded another album, of course, the trio of Cindy Dieteson, Sydney Tuff, and Kaya Kurtz. And we were at this summer backyard show, taking that in. Years ago now, at this point, you had a band called Earth Tones with Karen White and with Sydney and Jameson, who were both playing there. And so there's more to it. This is a big congregation of a lot of people who have been around. You've been around together for a long time.
Yeah, holy moly. Yeah. That group was also a good example of melding friendship with music and community building. They're such great people as well, like the Shorties, and they've really, going to that show was a good reminder of like how music brings people together. And having been in a band with them that was always a big important thing. I remember every time with Sydney and Jameson, every time we would have a rehearsal, the first thing we would say is, okay, what are we having for dinner though? Because we would run rehearsals out of my house at the time. And so they always would come an hour earlier than the rehearsal time so that we could have dinner together. So we would have dinner. We would make sure we're hanging out. That would also be our time to just spend together. A lot of us were working or in school or busy with other things. And so that was like our time to let's meet up, let's practice, let's write these tunes. And and that was very clear with the Shorties as well, that concert of, we're here to create community and bring people together. And I get reminded a lot about that every time I'm at their show of like, music is friendship. Music is being together and love. And it's not always the rehearsals, or it's not always about the perfection of it all. It's just about being together. And I think I learned a lot about that being with them too, trying to push that later on of like how to be in a rehearsal space as well, of like, we're here to work on these tunes, but if we can also be here to like hang and have a good time, then it just makes it all feel so much better.
Yeah, it's nobody's alone here. You're all contributing to this good vibe when you get it. Yeah. No, I love them so much. They're great people. Is there anything else that you wanted to shout out or point towards any people or things before we wrapped here?
I would say, another huge person that was also really advocating for me to push my stuff out is my partner as well. A lot of the tunes were written about previous relationships, and so her being like, you know what, like, this is your art, this is your creative field, like, you need to get this stuff out, and almost feeling that was like, okay, if this person is like, okay, and is enjoying the music, then you're right. I just need to put it out. It has to leave my system. Because having these tunes like in my computer unfinished had that feeling of I'm holding on to a lot of these feelings. And so having been able to work with Barry and all these people and having the push from them and also my partner to put it out felt like, okay, all of these emotions and feelings that were attached to these songs are now put away. They're pushed out into the world and they're not in me anymore, which was a huge thing. Yeah, other than that, I think that's good. I think, yeah, I'm so grateful to be in the position that I am right now, getting to play music and be in the creative process with some of these artists and help them as well perform their music. Like with Dacey, I'm not in their writing circle, but Dacey entrusts me with the music to play and to perform, and I feel lucky that I get to do that. So yeah.
And it's fun and inspiring to watch you do all the different things that you do. So thanks for talking with me about it, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.